College football update. I'm Dave Morris with Gannett Media and the Oklahoman, and I'm joined by my colleague Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Barry, you're reporting this morning that the University of Oklahoma is looking to change the opener for its college football season. What are you reporting?
Well, OU is supposed to play Missouri State on September 5th in Norman, and OU Athletic Director Joe Castiglione has petitioned the NCAA for a waiver to move that game up to August 29th and start the season a week early.
Now, typically we're seeing a lot of scheduling as we're about 6 weeks away maybe from the start of college football season. What's OU's rationale for moving it up versus moving back?
Well, with the pandemic and all the corona testing that's going on, it's sort of a brave new world. A lot of teams, a lot of coaches, a lot of programs are fearful of what that could entail. Lots of talk that excessive positive tests will lead to delay, cancellations, postponements of games. Players that test positive will face a 14-day quarantine, but players that have been in contact through contact tracing with positive test players will be isolated until they can be tested. So you can see the potential calamity of a roster being depleted with, let's say an offensive guard test positive. Well, it's likely that all of the offensive linemen on a team will have come in contact through meetings and in other ways. They would go into isolation until their status can be determined. So Joe Castiglione sees at least one way to mitigate those circumstances early in the year. OU has an off date on September 19th. They play Missouri State on the 5th, Tennessee on the 12th, then are off on the 19th. If you move that Missouri State game up a week, that gives Oklahoma an off week after each of its first two games. So depending on what the Sooners find out with the testing, if they're hit with some roster subtractions, it gives them much more time to recover and try to get those guys either healthy or cleared to play.
So Castiglione's thinking is, hey, if we can get this moved up, if Missouri State is agreeable, and according to your article, they appear to be, if the NCAA grants this petition, it could be game, off week, and then potentially Army. Is that correct?
That is right. After that, of course, the Sooners have no off weeks. Now, here's an example of why this could be effective. The Big Ten announced Thursday it's going to play conference games only. Potentially a 10-game conference season spread out over 14 weeks. That gives, quite a bit of wiggle room, 3 off weeks for each team through that season. And that's the same kind of mentality, trying to just create a landscape by which programs are able to sort of navigate the unknown and try to keep games played on as even of a schedule as possible.
I think navigate's the correct word there. What are you hearing at this point about the Army game with the New York travel ban being announced earlier this week?
Well, it seems unlikely that that's a game that could be pulled off. So many things. You mentioned the travel ban. When the pandemic hit, it was New Yorkers not supposed to travel to Oklahoma. Now it's Oklahomans not supposed to travel to New York. So it's a difficult situation. And plus you've got the growing trend of playing conference games only. The Pac-12 is expected to follow the Big Ten. The ACC is considering it. And truthfully, the Big 12 has talked about it too. You can see a scenario as we get closer to this season by which everyone would just be playing conference games. So the Oklahoma at Army game seems like a game that's unlikely to be played. For one thing, Oklahoma would like to make its trip to West Point under ideal circumstances. It would like it when fans can go, when the players could tour West Point and get the full experience. And that's not likely, even if that game were to be played in 2020. So it's still on the schedule. They're still planning for it. but all kinds of factors could torpedo that game.
Chatting with the Oklahoman's Barry Trammell about the University of Oklahoma football schedule this year. One final question for you, Barry. We heard about the Cotton Bowl earlier this week. What are you hearing about OU Texas?
Well, OU Texas, they play this season. They are going to play in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. The OU Texas tradition, the OU Texas enterprise, is a three-part partnership with the universities and the State Fair of Texas. And the State Fair has been canceled, of course. So if Oklahoma, Texas is played this year, it will be without the fair, but it will be at the Cotton Bowl, which the same general patch of grass where they've played each other since 1929 every year. So that will continue if the game is played. The one sort of interesting sidelight to this is with no fair and perhaps limited fans, we could see OU Texas played at night. It's not a game that the schools will ever allow the networks to schedule at night because of logistic problems with so many 150 to 200,000 people leaving Fair Park after 10 o'clock on a Saturday with lots of drinking going on. That's the Dallas police force worst nightmare. So you got a situation where circumstances have changed. It's possible that they could throw the networks a bone and play that game at night, and then of course return to normal next season.
Always good analysis and context from the Oklahoman's Barry Trammell, and he knew exactly what I meant with that Cotton Bowl question of the State Fair of Texas being canceled, of course. All right, be sure to follow more coverage. And again, Barry Trammell is reporting on Oklahoman.com about the University of Oklahoma student football team's scheduling attempts to change that season opener against Missouri State. Barry, as always, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
You bet, Dave.